Hi, friends! I'm back again with another Christmas story for you. This is called The Christmas in the Country by Cynthia Rylant, one of my favorite authors. Yes, she also wrote a book called Mr. Putter and Tabby. There's actually several books in that series. She wrote some of my favorite Henry and Mudge books, and she also wrote Annie and Snowball books. So if you are into chapter books, then these would work for like maybe first through third grade. Okay. So then we've got the Christmas book that she wrote. It says A Christmas in the Country by Cynthia Rylant. I hope you enjoy it as much as I know I will. When I was a little girl, I lived with my grandparents in the country. Our house was small and white. It had an old coal stove to keep us warm and a tiny little kitchen for supper and a nice back porch for the dogs. In the summer, I sat in our swing and ate fresh tomatoes and sang. In fall, I helped can apples. In spring, I took long walks with my granny. And in the winter, I waited for Christmas. Winter in the country is so quiet. The snow slows everything down. Birds are silent and serious. Dogs stay in their warm houses. Children want cocoa and blankets. Everyone is ready for something really special. Everyone is ready for Christmas. Did you decorate your house for Christmas? My husband loves to put lights on the outside of our house. My grandfather always got our Christmas tree from the woods behind the house. Off he'd go with his axe, while my grandmother and I pulled boxes of old ornaments from her closet, which smells like wool and mothballs. What good memories. My grandfather always went out to the woods to get my grandparents' Christmas tree as well. He'd always get the ugliest one, but we made it look beautiful. I love those ornaments. Some of them I had made myself. Hard foam bells glued with green glitter. Red construction paper chains. There were silver icicles and white glass stars and soft angels. Each ornament reminded me of my whole life. Definitely good memories. If you're familiar with Henry and Mudge, look at the dog. I think he looks a lot like Mudge. You'll see him again. Grandfather always brought home a tree that was a little too wide or a little too tall, and we would have to spend the next few weeks squeezing around it in the living room. It seemed sometimes like an embarrassed guest, but we loved that tree and couldn't wait to turn on the lights at night. It was the prettiest thing we had. So look at the dog. That dog reminds me of Mudge. On Christmas Eve, my grandparents and I went to services at the small Baptist church at the bottom of the hill. I got to stand up front with the other children and sing a Christmas carol for the grown-ups. Afterwards, each child was given a small brown bag full of candy and nuts and a tangerine. I gave my grandfather the tangerine because I knew he loved them. Aw, how sweet. Do you have Christmas traditions that you like to do? Mm-hmm. My grandparents and I walked home from church through the snow and into the warm little kitchen. We pulled off our wet boots and gloves and hung them near the stove to dry. Then my grandmother helped me write a note to Santa Claus while my grandfather rested. I left Santa a saucer of cookies, a glass of milk, and the nicest note I could think of. Then I went to bed. How sweet. Do you write notes to Santa Claus? Do you give him milk and cookies? Do you set out carrots for the reindeer? My kids used to enjoy doing that. And in the morning when I woke, it was still a little dark outside and still a little shivery, and I went to my grandparents' bed and asked them to help me see what Santa brought. And they rose up from their warm quilts, and together we all went to the tree. Aww. Such sweet memories. Every Christmas, Santa gave me just what I wanted, a new doll. And he always gave me something else I hadn't asked for, and which was a surprise: a paint by number kit, a bear bank, a coloring book. His cookies were always gone, his milk glass empty. I was glad Santa liked everything. Definitely sweet memories. I went to church again with my grandparents later that Christmas morning. They let me take my doll. The service was short because the preacher knew everyone wanted to play with their toys and bake their hams. He just reminded us what Christmas was about and sent us home. Aww. And all that day, there were aunts and uncles and cousins knocking at the door, neighbors dropping off pies, and dogs barking at the commotion and waiting for leftovers. Do your dogs like to eat leftovers? I know quite a few dogs that do. My grandparents and I kept our Christmas tree for as long as we could, and then finally, after the new year, it was time to take it down. Grandfather hauled it out to the woods while my grandmother and I put the ornaments away. We swept up the needles and tinsel, and then we all had milk and a biscuit. How sweet. Christmas in the country was over, and there were spring walks and summer tomatoes and fall apples to look forward to now. But in that closet of wool and mothballs, there would be boxes of old ornaments waiting. What a sweet book. Thank you for sharing this book with me. Stay tuned because there might be more coming. Have a good day. Bye-bye. And keep reading.